Welcome to the Rambling Geek. Today we'll delve into a captivating saga of ambition, expansion, and the ultimate downfall of Imperial Japan. Let's embark on this historical odyssey together. Our journey begins in the late 19th century, when Japan was undergoing a transformative period known as the Meiji Restoration. Between 1868 and the mid-20th century, Japan expanded its influence across East Asia. From Alaska to Singapore, Japan's empire rivaled the great powers of Europe. But what motivated Japan's leaders to pursue industrialization and militarization during this period? How did they succeed against all odds as a non-Euro-American island nation? And why did they choose to assert dominance over their neighbors, starting from Taiwan and expanding to Korea, mainland China, the Philippines and beyond? And ultimately, what led Japan into a disastrous conflict with the United States? Answering these questions requires more than just statistics and treaties. It demands an understanding of Japanese perspectives and cultures. As outsiders like you and I, we must humanize the Japanese, moving beyond simplistic narratives of good versus evil. Depictions of Japan as a monolithic enemy fall short in capturing the complexities of history. Our goal is to explore how people of the past, both the Japanese and the Americans, navigated these circumstances, shaped their worldview and influenced the events of the time. Let's begin with Japan's early motivations for empire. After the Meiji Restoration, Japan sought to enhance its global standing and abolish unequal treaties imposed by Western powers. Observing geopolitical shifts, Japanese leaders faced the challenge of preserving independence among foreign powers. The importance of national security loomed large in the minds of Meiji Japan's leaders. Industrialization and military expansion were seen as crucial defenses against external threats. The need to protect against European and American encroachment drove Japan's militarization efforts. By 1894, Japan's military prowess was evident as it swiftly defeated King China and annexed Taiwan and the Liaodong Peninsula. Yet the victory also escalated tensions with expanding European empires, particularly Russia. Japan's alliance with England led to the Russo-Japanese War of 1904. Despite initial setbacks, Japan's navy emerged victorious, securing control over Korea and southern Manchuria. However, public dissatisfaction with treaty terms sparked riots, reflecting a desire for greater recognition on a global stage. Whether planned or opportunistic, Japan's overseas expansion resonated with a national vision of regional dominance. Driven by economic interests and security concerns, Japan extended its influence. Colonization efforts and military deployments reinforced Japan's presence in territories rich in resources essential for industrial and military development. The engagement of government, private business, schools, and ordinary citizens in Japan's overseas empire reveals a deep sense of patriotism and nationalism among the Japanese people, a sentiment crucial to the Meiji government's agenda. Utilizing various tools such as the public education and controlled media, the government instilled in the Japanese populace a profound emotional connection to the empire and the emperor, the government, and the concept of Japan itself, known as the kokutai. The emotional tie served as a powerful motivator for sacrifice and loyalty to the nation, especially during times of perceived crisis. Despite resistance, the majority of Japanese came to believe in their country's superiority, viewing Japan as the land of the gods. With a special warrior spirit descended from Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun. However, some individuals recognize the inequalities within Japanese society, with powerful elites benefiting from corruption, while workers and farmers struggled for meager wages. The passing of the Meiji Emperor in 1912 left many Japanese mourning, symbolizing Japan's international success. General Nogi's acts of ritual suicide with his wife exemplified the deep reverence of the imperial figure. Writers and intellectuals rediscovered traditions, emphasizing the nation's historical importance and the role of nationalism in shaping individual identities. World War I provided Japan with newfound economic opportunities as it capitalized on the demand for military supplies and consumer goods in Europe. Exploiting Europe's internal conflict, Japan expanded its influence in East Asia, demanding concessions from a weakened China and facing resistance in colonized territories like Korea. Concurrently, Japan experienced growing social movement and dissent from various sectors of society, challenging the government's narratives of obedience and national unity. Despite efforts to suppress dissent through strict laws and censorship, discontent amongst workers and intellectuals intensified, exacerbated by economic inequalities. The Great Depression of 1929 dealt a severe blow to Japan's economy, leading to widespread unemployment and social unrest. In response, ultranationalist groups gained traction, promoting a rigid ideology centered on the reverence for the emperor, opposition to international diplomacy, and a glorification of the military prowess. As Japan navigated through turbulent times, the intertwining forces of patriotism, nationalism, and economic interest shaped its trajectory, setting the stage for future conflicts and societal transformations. In the corridors of power, Japan's military faced its own internal struggles. The army and the navy spared over budgets, weaponry, and political influence, while Japan's international stance hung in the balance. Despite constraints from naval treaties, Japan's navy forged ahead, building a formidable fleet of aircraft carriers and submarines, surpassing any potential adversaries in the Pacific. Meanwhile, the army found itself entrenched in territorial occupation from Taiwan to Manchuria, where it safeguarded Japanese interests and infrastructure. Frustrated with diplomatic delays, Japanese army officers orchestrated an incident to seize control of Manchuria, defying orders from Tokyo and sparkling international condemnation. Despite global outrage, Japan annexed Manchuria, creating a puppet state under a Chinese emperor, while the League of Nations condemned Japanese aggression. Back home, political turmoil escalated as war in China drained resources and fueled nationalist fervor, leading many to embrace ultra-nationalist ideals. However, dissent simmered beneath the surface, with civilians, intellectuals, and minority groups resisting militaristic policies and advocating for democratic values. The political landscape shifted dramatically in 1936 when army insurgents launched a coup against the civilian government, plunging Japan into chaos. Though the coup failed, it strengthened the military's grip on power, stifling dissent and sidelining civilian politicians in favor of military control. As Japan grappled with internal strife and external pressures, the military's influence loomed large, shaping the course of events, paving the way for further conflicts on the world stage. In the tumultuous landscape of 1930s Asia, Japan faced escalating tensions as events in China threatened to upend regional stability. In December 1936, Chiang Kai-shek, leader of China, was abducted by his own generals and coerced into forcing a united front against Japan, bringing together former rivals in a common struggle. The alliance posed a direct challenge to Japan's strategic interest in China, prompting Japanese military leaders to abandon localized conflicts in favor of full-scale war. The outbreak of the conflict in July 1937 caught Japan off guard, as Chinese forces fiercely resisted Japanese advances, inflicting heavy casualty and fueling a desire for revenge amongst Japanese troops. The brutal atrocities committed by Japanese forces, particularly by Nanjing, further galvanized Chinese resistance and forward anti-Japanese sentiment across the nation. As tensions escalated, Japan sought to consolidate its position by forging alliances with Germany and Italy, while attempting to exploit divisions within China and confront the Soviet Union in the north. However, Japan's ambitions were hampered by its dependence on foreign resources, particularly oil, which left it vulnerable to economic sanctions imposed by the United States. Faced with mounting pressure, Japan's military leaders, led by Admiral Yamamoto, devised a bold plan to neutralize the US Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, in a bid to secure vital oil supplies. On December 7, 1941, Japanese aircraft launched a surprise assault on Pearl Harbor, crippling much of American fleet and thrusting the United States into the Second World War. The attack on Pearl Harbor marked a turning point in history, igniting a global conflict that would reshape the balance of power in the Pacific and ultimately lead to Japan's downfall. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Just like the video below and subscribe to the channel, and leave any comments you have below to discuss this topic.